going to do a little sorting activity today with our long and our short A words. Raise your hand if you remember what sound short A makes. What sound does short A make?
Ah.
Okay, everyone, what sound does short A make?
Ah.
Ah. And then what sound does long A make? What sound does long A make, Victoria? A. Everybody, what sound does long A make?
A.
A. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give each of you a word card. You're going to read the word on the card, and you're going to think about, do I hear a short A in that word, or do I hear a long A in that word? And once it's your turn, you're going to say the word for the group, and then we're going to put those words into two different groups. If they have a short A sound, like in hat, you're going to put it on this side where it says short vowel. If it has a long A sound, like in cake, where A is saying its name, you're going to put it over here on this side. And here's a little hint here. If it has a magic E at the end, remember what we've been talking about with the magic E?
Yeah.
Then we know that A is going to say its name, and it's going to be a long vowel sound, okay? All right, ready? Okay, I'm going to give everyone a moment to read your word to yourself, and then when it's your turn, I'm going to say your name and allow you to read your card for the group, okay? When it's your turn, I'm going to have you look at the word. If you're not sure what your word says, then we're going to look at it together and say each sound together. And remember, we're looking for clues. If it has that magic E at the end of the word, then we know that it's the A is going to say its name, and it's going to be long, okay? Okay, let's look at it together. Can you tell me that first sound? Okay, and I noticed there's a magic E at the end of that word, so that A is going to say its name. So what is it? Made. Okay, so does made have a long A sound or a short A sound? Long. Okay, we're going to do a few together. I'm going to hold up the word, and you guys are going to say the word, and then we're going to say long or short. If it's short, I want you to put your hands close together like this. If it's long, I want you to hold your arms out. Okay? All right, get ready. What's the word?
Scrape.
Scrape. Scrape, like I scrape my knee. Oh, look at there. I see those nice long arms, so we know that that A is long. Very good. Okay, let's see if we can do another one all together. Eyes this way. What's the word?
Rat.
Okay.
Rat.
Rat. Oh, good job. You guys corrected yourselves. Yes, rat. What would rat have to have at the end in order for it to be long? It would have to have that magic E at the end, but it doesn't have it there, so we know that A is going to be what? Short. All right, good job. All of the short A words together. Ready? I'm going to point to them, and we're going to all say them together. All eyes this way. Let's go back to this one. What is this one?
Hat. Rat. Hat. Strap. Cat. Rag.
I can't reach this last two. What's that one? Mag. And the last one? What's the last word? Man. Okay, now let's read our long A words. Ready? Plane. Cave. Cane. Last one is what?
Scrap.
Oh, is it scrap or is it scrape?
Scrape.
And how do we know it's scrape?
Because of the E at the end.
Magic E at the end, which makes that A say its name. All right, good job with sorting those words into short and long A. I'm going to have you go ahead and return to your centers. Do that quietly. Thank you for your time. So my first walk and read group, I grouped those students together based on their fluency rate. I studied my most recent data. I had them take an oral reading fluency assessment the beginning of the quarter. And so I looked at that data, their words per minute, and then I grouped them together because they had a very similar fluency rate. And I also, in my working with them and observations, I noticed that they could use a little bit more practice with kind of those foundational skills and decoding words and figuring out those spelling patterns. So today we worked a little bit on differentiating between the short A sound and the long A sound, and I had them practice reading the words. And you probably noticed that some of those kiddos, they confused the two, and so we looked for clues like, does the word have that E at the end, that magic E that makes the first vowel say its name. And I tried to give them practice with, identifying that spelling pattern so that they could get a little bit more automatic and fluent in reading those kind of words. For the most part, yes, I did teach it as I intended to, which was to give everyone an individual turn, give them an opportunity to sort, and then we also did some whole group practice together. It went a little faster. The lesson went a little faster than I thought it would. So something that I could do next time to extend the lesson, there is a recording sheet where they can write the words down that go in each group, the long vowel words and the short vowel words. And so that's something I can add on for them to do at the end of the lesson, or even independently for more practice, because it did go a little faster than I expected it to. Yeah, there were a couple errors made when we were playing the game. Typically, they would read a short vowel word as a long vowel word. And so some of the scaffolding techniques I would use is I would point to the word to say, oh, notice this word has that magic E at the end, which means that first vowel is going to be long and says its name. And sometimes they self-correct it and they caught it, but the first couple times I did give them that clue to look for and help them with changing their response. Typically, I do a lot of informal assessments through my observation. During the activity, I will be able to, observe if they're getting skills, but I'm also going to provide them, like I said, with more opportunities for independent practice, because I think that way I can really be able to tell if they really, truly got the concept. So I'll give them an opportunity to do it in more of a written format and more independently. So it may be placed at one of their centers later this week or next week, the same activity where they're sorting the words, but then they'll have to write them down in the correct areas. And then that will give me a product and hard copy, of their work. And I'll be able to use that as another form of assessment. I wanted to give them some practice with reading those short and long vowel words in isolation. So in my next step, I would probably give them, like I said, more independent practice with doing that, but also kind of bring it back to reading those words in a decodable passage. So they're having to read them in the context of a story and not just isolated, and see how well they do with that and continue to work on building that fluency. I did have two other groups that I worked with. My second group, again, they were grouped. I looked at their oral fluency rates to determine which group they needed to be in. And that second group was slightly more fluent. They were a little bit more independent. They didn't need as much practice with differentiating between the long and the short vowels, but they needed some practice with just reading the long vowel words, and especially if they had other aspects to it, like a consonant blend. I noticed that they needed more practice with that. So we did mostly word reading and decoding with those kiddos, and I did give them an opportunity to do more independent reading and practice. When they first got to the table, I had them read the words on their own first, and then we read it as a group, and then having to identify the word when I called it out. So that was one way I differentiated, giving them a little bit more independent practice with it, and then finding the word. And we didn't really have to go back to the short vowels. We were able to jump right in with the long vowels, because that group, they were more ready for that particular skill.